Well, hello there, and welcome to the Wellness Universe Lounge. My name is Lolita Gurin, for those who don't know me, but if you're already watching it or listening in today, you probably already know me. So, I'm a stress management expert, and thank you for joining me today for the Life Without Limits Freedom and Success by Healing Childhood Trauma. So, today it's already a session 5, and we will be talking about boundaries. Yep, very needed. As a wellness universe expert, my intentions for you is to recognize how your childhood trauma affecting your life, and hopefully you are already on the journey of healing it and making your life much healthier and happier. The wellness universe brings experience like this to you because we believe in happy, healthy, and healed humans lead to peace globally, and we needed that so much these days. Actually, I think always. This session is donation based, so we're all grateful if you will donate whatever you can. You can go and click a button now and donate, or you're welcome to do that at the end of a class, or you just decide one day that you got great value from a Wellness Universe hosted classes, and you just go and donate whatever you like. So I will be placing a link. You will be getting the link at the end of a class, and of course you can do that right now. So also please leave us a review and a rating. I think that helps other viewers and listenings to actually get the idea what it is about, and do you recommend that. So thank you again for being here, and I'm so excited that we're going to be talking about something that many times when we say, well, let's talk about boundaries, or what those boundaries are. There's some misconceptions, misconceptions sometimes, what they are. And when I started looking more at the beginning of my healing journey, when I started looking about the boundaries, I was surprised that boundaries are not necessarily set with other people, but also with ourselves. And the boundary is not it is not that simple, but it is definition that that separates us from others. And personal boundary is a unique property line that defines who you are. What are you afraid of? What are you responsible for? What your limitations? And that's how you show up and in front of other people. And that's also what you expect other people how to behave with you too. What comes to my mind, I saw this cartoon about the doctor coming, having a patient, a lady coming into him for his advice. And as soon he sees her, and she's all prepared for examination, and she's sitting in gown and obviously very uncomfortable. Anyone who's been to a doctor, they know how uncomfortable it is to sitting in a gown and in your underwear, and you feel very vulnerable. And the cartoon shows the doctor comes in to the office to see her, and he says, "Oh, it's so nice to see you. How are you doing?" And he hugs her, right? So that is immediately we all think, "Oh, wait a minute, this is watch what you're doing. What's your boundaries?" Also, we can feel boundaries when somebody comes right into our space, and we like, wait, 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 this is way too close. So, but the whole course is about um, really how those different things impact specifically those who grew up in a dysfunctional family, for those who grew up with an addict in the household. And you could be alcoholic, or you drug user, or shopaholic, or sex addict, or workaholic, any other addiction that pretty much that the parent or a caregiver was suffering and dealing with at the time when the child was growing up. So those childhood traumas, when we learn how we need to behave at that specific time, really get carry on in our adult life, and impacts our life probably not the best way. But there are also good things that I find us facing as adults that we already been kind of prepared when we were kids. And I like thinking about childhood traumas not just being something very bad, but also like steel. You just being forged to be strong when you really need it. And I invite everyone to think about experiences in the past as a superpower that now you can use it. So Boundaries. Yes, it's very important to have boundaries. So, if somebody says, well, I don't even know, do I have boundaries or do I have strong boundaries? Especially when we grew up in a dysfunctional family where we didn't even know what boundaries were. Everybody were in our face, everybody were telling us what to do, or not everybody, or those specific people that were authorities. And you listened to their opinion, and it was extremely important to you that they were happy and they pleased, because then they can give you support and attention and basically help you to survive. We were doing most of the time of everything, especially when we're children, not to be separated from the group. It basically just goes to survival. So if somebody treats us without respecting our boundaries, without really paying attention who we are, what we like, that could be very, very difficult. So I'm inviting you now, those who participating live, um, do you think that you have strong boundaries as of right now? If you like, you're welcome to write yes or no in the comments section. Okay, the answer is no. Thank you, Sheree, for sharing it. And I tell you, I had no idea that I had no boundaries for the very long time. I grew up with an alcoholic father, and I was just thinking that's how everybody is. Everybody's in everybody's business. Um, I have to please everyone and do whatever they want. And I felt unhappy, obviously, totally invalidated, and felt many times that I just don't know what should I do in order to be accepted. And I know that I felt resentment towards other people at work or with my friends, because I will be getting into situations where I will be thinking, well, I don't want to go and do something, especially when you think about the teenage years, and um, when you are so afraid of to be excluded from the group and you want to be accepted by your peers, you can go and do all kinds of stuff even if you don't want to do that has anything to do with the trying out new substances or getting involved in any physical activities that you really don't want to do, because you're afraid to say no. If you say no, then you will be all excluded from the group, you will not be popular, and this all again goes to survival. But if you grew up in the environment that, let's say, your caregivers were constantly breaking any boundaries, or worse, you are not even knowing who you truly are. Because the true boundary starts with a place where you know where you are and where the other people are. And the line that separates you between you and them, that is the boundary. It's like, this is how far I'm going to let you to come to me, and then I'll be worried. This is how close I'm going to let you to come, or I will be defending myself. Also, the same thing works with yourself. You need to have your own boundaries. What will you will tolerate it, what you will not tolerate it. And to me, that was very difficult to understand that, whoa, I don't even know who I am. So if I don't even know who I am, how can I even make that boundary? Where does it start? So it is important to understand that you have to know who you are. So my question to you is, do you think that you allow yourself to be right now more of who you are? Did you get to the point that you think, I think I'm pretty much now I know who I really am and what kind of person I am and what preferences I have, compared to when you were, let's say, in teenage years? Do you think that now you can define yourself more, or are you still struggling with that? You're welcome to write yes or no in the comment. Okay, yeah, and Cherie says, people pleaser, put everyone else's happiness first. Want to change that? Great. This is what it all starts when you realize where you are and where you want to go. Okay, and she also says, just starting to let myself be myself instead of how others define me. Wonderful. This is great news. And really is where it starts of really realizing that it's you shouldn't be scared of defining yourself, especially when we just please other people and we had no permission to be ourselves. It can start with little things, such as knowing what you like. uh, let's say someone will keep on telling you that eating spinach when you were a child, this is very good, but you don't even know, do you even like spinach? Maybe you don't like it. So you start off this list of thinking what they like and what they don't like. But it's very important to realize for you that you have permission to really be you. And that could be extremely difficult for the child who grew up in a dysfunctional family, because you were not accepted for who you were. If, let's say, there was a part of you that you like about yourself, and then I think we all being born of loving ourselves, the whole us. But then when the outside world tells us that no, I don't like the way you talk, I don't like your voice, or I don't like how you express yourself, especially that has to do with our core, with expression. And the outside world or the family tells you, well, I don't like, let's say you like singing, and you say, well, stop that, you have a horrible voice, never sing again. You will shed that part of yourself away, and you're not going to show that to anyone. So also knowing your unique self, it's allowing yourself to access even your own parts. There's what is called shadow work. When you find those parts of yourself and you're allowing them to be, that is how you know who you truly are. And I said that before in the other classes, other months, that is extremely important to not abandon yourself, meaning you accept yourself the way you are. So boundary setting starts knowing where you are. And it takes a lot of courage, because we've been told that we not have no right to even to be ourselves. We're supposed to be like other people telling us to. It just totally comes from survival, because we're not going to please them. We're going to die. Pretty much that's what it is. They will not going to accept in the group. We're not going to be fed. And even when we adults and now we have jobs and we can make money and we can care of ourselves, or just say, even if you don't have a job, there are plenty of ways that you can probably make yourself still survive. But we carry this wound continuously and thinking we don't really think it's possible. So little steps, very important. So if, let's say, someone is struggling to think, well, I don't even know what they want, start making a list of things that you like. And that's actually one of the great stress management tools for anyone, is to do something that you love every day. And it could be a small thing, maybe reading a chapter of the book, or drinking your cup of coffee in the morning. Something that will be totally for you, that is done when you enjoy doing it. Something that you spend and you say, you know what, this specific time right now is only for me, not for anyone else, not to please anyone else, only me. Maybe walking around the block. And the biggest thing for you is to accepting your own feelings as well. So let's say you say, okay, I want to set the boundaries, I really want to know who I am. Do not be ashamed of yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. I can repeat all day long, there's nothing wrong with you, because you are who you are. That's the ultimate honoring yourself and honoring your own feelings, by standing by your side and saying, hey, you know what, you're good. You should not be afraid or embarrassed to look at those parts of you that make you. It's like a rainbow. It's full of colors. You are the full rainbow. And you see how beautiful the rainbow is, because it has full colors. Imagine it will be green and gray, or blue and pink. Then you're like, okay, well, that's great, but the full rainbow makes all those colors, and that's what the beauty about this. And we're afraid to show us, because again, goes to survival. So when you find the courage, and it could be very stressful to allow yourself to do that. So you know you feel like somebody needs to validate you, like somebody needs to tell you that you actually can take that time for yourself, and take that time to realize what you like. Well, I'm giving you permission now. You have permission to be happy, like we all have. There's nothing wrong with you, and you totally can do it. That's where you were born, to be happy and prosperous and healthy and treat others with love and respect the same as you want to be treated. When you think about it, all the wars in the world happening from the point of an ego and from the point of fear. When you think about it, all the people in the world want to be happy. That's all. We just want to be loved and we want to be accepted. We need to have somewhere to sleep, what to eat, and just be with the group of people that we love and do things that we want to do. That is a just human right. So you also need to give that permission to yourself. So when you identify where are you, what things that you like to do, and start building a list. And it's not necessarily needs to be something very difficult and complicated. But even if you think, well, I don't even know, then start like a diary. Every day you write something, or I like doing a lot of my notes on my phone. When I have an idea, I just write it down. And then you can put it on your diary and you can say, okay, I did something and I really like this cup of coffee. Or I like, riding a train to work and just looking through the window. I like sitting in a cafe and just observing people passing by. That's just something that you do for yourself. It doesn't have to be complicated, but pay attention during the day when you feel good, when you don't feel so stressed. And if you think, well, I don't even have those moments, then it's time to start slowing down. Because when we just keep on running, 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 especially if you came from a dysfunctional family, stress is amplified. Like I know myself, funny, 2 weeks ago, I got 2 speeding tickets in 2 weeks. I did not have a speeding ticket for 20 years. And I realized the second time when I was driving, after the second speeding ticket, I was like, I think I need to slow down. But this is when I realized that now, because I'm driving at the speed limit like every day, religiously now, I realized that there are so many places that I will just pass by on the way home and never paid attention to. Now I have to slow down. And I was like, wow, and I can see the trees and I can see the sky and, smell the roses. So when you give yourself your time and you give yourself permission to do things, that's how you find out who you are. And then you can define what those other boundaries are. So why is also important to have those boundaries? Because then you not burn out. Then you have enough energy to help yourself and others. And especially, and when I deal with my clients, uh, especially single mothers, or those who have to take care of a lot of people, they have to take care of their kids, they have to take care of their aunts and aging parents. It's always there is this wanting to help others, but you cannot help others if you do not help yourself. You always need to think about like you are in a plane. You know what they say: if the plane is about to crash and something happens, the oxygen, you have to put the mask on yourself first and then help other person. But especially when we grew up in a dysfunctional family, we were people pleasers. We have such also big hearts because we those empaths who see the other person suffering and we feel it so much, and then we think we want to help them. We know what it is to be in pain, and then we just give and give and give. But you cannot give yourself for way too much. You have to take care of your own needs as well, and make sure that you do not get to the point of burnout, because then we'll just become physically ill. And a great book that I recommend, The Body Keeps the Score, it just shows the correlation between our emotions, our suppressed emotions, and the physical diseases. But that's the thing, because we never were allowed to express ourselves. We were not allowed to be angry and all of that. So this is the time to actually start doing that. And it can be scary, but it's, little by little, when you start acknowledging who you are and you allow yourself to be yourself, you gain trust in yourself. And then you see, oh, you know what, I did a little bit of this, and hey, guess what, nothing happened. Meaning nothing bad happened. So then you allow yourself to expand and do a little bit more things and give yourself more time and know exactly who you are. And then you get more courage, and you just start really moving forward in your healing. So now let's just see how bad no boundaries can influence relationships with other people. So let's say you are in the relationship with someone, um, let's say a friend, and the friend asking you to do something, and you love them and you want to help them, but you really cannot do it. So let's say you are all very busy, and let's say your friend calls you and says, hey, I really want you to do this favor for me. Because you don't have boundaries, you are afraid to say no, you will agree with them. And what happens in the time when you're not afraid, when you're afraid to say no, at the end of it, it will be the opposite thing that you try to do. Because when you're giving from the heart and that you really want to, it feels amazing, right? That's why volunteering works miracles for those who want to feel good about themselves and about outside world. When you give your money, your time, your energy, it feels good. But when, let's say, you're afraid to say no, and you're afraid to say that, you know what, I cannot do it, I have to take care of my own, on myself, on my family right now, and I don't have time to help you. What happens then? You become resentful, but you get this uneasy feeling, not about your friend only. You get the same feeling about yourself as well. So what happens is you become resentful towards your friend, because you're like, okay, that made me feel bad that I'm doing something against myself, against my time, against my energy, and you're responsible for how I feel. Because if you will not ask me for this favor, then I will be fine right now. And also, I feel guilty because I cannot really be there for you. But if I'm not going to be there for you, that's mean I'm not pleasing you. And then I feel that you will say, okay, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. And then you still agreeing to do that, but then you kind of hold it against your friend. On top of that, you build resentment toward yourself because you're part of that doesn't want to do it really has a conflict with the part that actually made that part to do it. And then you get angry at yourself too, because it's like, I don't know why I'm even doing this. This is so wrong, but you don't have enough strength to actually to say no. So that works against you. The word works really against you in your friendships. Let's say, let's talk about relationships, and let's say in your partnerships, or your marriage, or your partner, or intimate relationships. Let's say someone asks us to do something that you don't want to do, because we have no boundaries, we're afraid to say no. We're just gonna be like, okay, I'll do it. But then again, we're gonna be feeling resentment towards them and towards ourselves, and it can get very painful. And this resentment that keeps on building, those are the negative emotions. It will feel physical illness in our body. It can physically can hurt. And I have clients who come to me and they say, I don't know, I just feel this pain. But then after we had some stress management sessions, and they really work on how they adjust their lives and the things that they work, they say, wow, I cannot believe it. I had this pain in my neck, and now I don't have it pain in my neck. Well, yes, because you change the way you think, you change the way you act, and this is all, finally you can see it on your body. When your body is all stressed out, you feel tense. When you take care of that stress, then you relax more, and then that influences also your relationships with other people. um, I remember when I just started setting the boundaries, I read an article that it said that people overall who are good in setting boundaries are more respected in the environment, and um, in the social setting. So let's say you are at work and you know how to say no. Your coworkers will be more respectful of you, and I'm sure you can even think about the other people in your life that probably you ask them to do something, or you just observe them to choose themselves that moment and say, no, I'm not going to do this. I am not going to go to this party because I'm too tired. I am not going to go to this restaurant because they don't have any plant-based foods. I am not going to take this project because I already working on too many projects. When we see someone that knows how to set boundaries, and when they put themselves first, we have respect for them. And I remember myself looking at those people and thinking, wow, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that, but well, I can't because I'm afraid, how that's gonna look like. I don't want to offend them. I don't want to hurt their feelings, and they're my friends, they're my coworkers, there's some other people. And worse than that, we even afraid to set boundaries with the people that we never met, all meeting the first time. It could be that how many times uh, there's a scenario that we can see that especially that involves the opposite sex, whatever that is, but how one doesn't want to be, let's say, physically touched, and another one just continue pushing. But since you are grew up in the with the childhood trauma, you learned that even if you don't like to be physically touched, you will allow them to do that because you're afraid how they're going to act. So that's self-preservation. So even if you hate that, you're still going to allow those things done to you. And worse, if you will say something about that, then you will feel ashamed because the guilt that brings all of that is just unbearable. So it's like, okay, if I'm gonna say no to this, then I will have this embarrassment and they're probably not gonna like it. And if I'm gonna say, and if I will agree with this, then I feel all that resentment inside of me and I feel like I abandoned myself. So it is a very tough situation, but it is very important to learn how to set those boundaries. And for example, let's say, in the workplace. In the workplace, this is how I really realized that how my journey is. I didn't wake up one day and I said, I want to be a stress management coach. I was actually working in a very workplace where we were working with lots of projects and lots of clients, and I wanted to achieve my American dream because I came from Lithuania. I thought that, I want to have something in this country. This is a country of opportunities, and I'm seriously going to be out there and working. And I was getting more and more projects. When my project manager comes and says, "Hey, can you take this project too?" I said yes. I said yes because I wanted to achieve something. But then it became to the point when I was like, well, I don't think I can do this anymore because then I started working even weekends. And then I have my coworkers coming and then they say, hey, can you help me with this presentation? Because, they don't have time. They know the boundaries. They know what the possibilities of them, the capabilities of them ends. And I'm like, well, I'm afraid they're going to say no. I was afraid to say, project manager, that I'm not going to take this project because I was afraid they will fire me. I'm like, well, if I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to please them, they're going to fire me. To my coworkers, they will ask me to do some presentation or something, and I'll be like, okay, yes, fine, I'll do it, because I was afraid that then they can go to my manager and say, look, she's not doing her job, and I asked her to do it, she's not doing it. And I piled up so much work that I was exhausted. I definitely had no time to do any exercises. I mean, the things that I was eating was ridiculous when I think back, just like a pizza and donuts, whatever was in the break room. The only exercise I was doing is just pretty much just getting up and going to use the restroom. That was it. And they come back home after like 12 hours of work and just eat whatever it was in the fridge and then and go to sleep and then repeat all over again. And then what started happening, I had a totally burnout. And probably those who are listening, they like, oh yeah, I've been there, done that. It's just never enough, but you kind of afraid to stop because I'm like, what else? How people gonna look at me? And I was like, well, it's important to me how I show myself and I want to achieve all this. So there's no way, if I was taking 15 projects per month, there's no way I'm going to slow down now, because they will be like, what's wrong with you? What happened? And I got physically sick to the point that it just really made a very big impact for my hormones. And it just went to the point that I just collapsed on the kitchen floor and I just had to go to emergency room. And I didn't want it to use no pills. And I'm like, this has to be natural ways to do it. And that's how I got into all of this stress management. And for those who didn't listen to hear my story, that's just a little bit, that's how I came to all this stress management, because I was afraid to say no. Boundaries was a very big deal. And, boundaries also in the relationships, it could be, when you start setting boundaries, could be very complicated, because you can tell yourself, okay, I'm going to do this now. Next time my friend's going to call me, I'm going to tell her no. But it may not happen. So you really need to give yourself a slack and honor your feelings and stand by your side and say, it's okay. Maybe tomorrow you'll do it. And and I remember in the relationships when I was still living with my ex-husband, when I start realizing that I have to have boundaries with him, I need to see what I'm willing to do and not willing to do. And I will promise myself that next time when he's going to be like emotionally abusing me, I'm going to tell him, no, I don't like the way you treat me. But you know what probably happened? When he will be in my face, I will be afraid to tell him no. I will be just this little mouse of saying, okay, whatever you say, because I didn't want to rock the boat. I was afraid that I'll get him upset. And then he's going to kick me out of the house or whatever, which when I think about it, I would totally have done it just by myself very well, what I actually did after I divorced him. But that took me a healing journey to realize that I was not in a happy and healthy place. And it takes courage. So when you start implementing the boundaries and when you say, I really want to start doing this, you're probably going to fail. It's just by default. It's, imagine if you decide you want to be good in basketball. You probably will not be expecting yourself uh, getting those points in and getting that ball in the basket from the first time you try, isn't it? So it takes practice. But the more you start applying those boundaries towards yourself and other people, it will get easier. Then you will gain more trust in yourself, you'll become more confident, and it will get better and better. And then you'll see that actually other people are trusting you more because now you're telling how it is, you're honoring your feelings, you honor your opinion, and they will look at you more as an authority too, not as someone who's a wishy-washy. Last week you said one thing and this week you're already doing something else. Also, when you start having boundaries with yourself, and somebody can say, what do you mean boundaries with myself? For example, we already know, nothing new, that it's very important to see how we talk with ourselves. That inner voice, especially when you come from this functional family, you have this parent figure that was a lot of times scolding you for things that you do, for who you are, what you want. You never had your needs met. I mean, not never, never is the wrong word, but a lot of times your needs were not met, the needs, whatever you had. And you kind of really coming from that place of you have to really now start honoring this. But then it's very important how you're going to talk to yourself. If you're going to tell the same thing, if something didn't happen, and you say, oh, how could you do this? Like, okay, today is a workout day and now I'm feeling lazy and I'm not going to work out today. And then tomorrow morning you woke up and say, oh my gosh, you didn't do this again. And oh my God, you ate the French fries. How could you do this? I mean, you get the gist. So the boundaries, of course, we need to set with ourselves is we're not going to talk like that anymore. We will not allow ourselves to talk to ourselves like that anymore. And let's say you got angry about something and you told yourself, I am not going to be angry. But then you get angry at yourself that you got angry. And that's where you need to stop and say, the boundary is, or self love, I am not going to talk like that anymore. So, what is the boundary with yourself? When you keep your promises to yourself. And when you start doing that, you will trust yourself more and you will feel more confident. And then you will show up in front of other people much stronger as an individual. And things will start really happening for you because you're there for yourself. So it's also very important to know what your capabilities are and what other people can do. So it's very important also to understand that you cannot do everything by yourself. It is impossible to do everything by yourself. So things that can help you in setting the boundaries is really asking other people for help, like your family members, your friends, your coworkers, other people. And it's very it can be very difficult if you grew up in a dysfunctional family where you had to always do everything yourself. And you kind of grew up with that attitude of like, well, if I'm not going to do it, nobody else will do it for me. Or you will be actually sabotaged if somebody else will do it because they will do it the wrong way. And then you have to redo it. Or also like, oh, it's just faster. It's just faster to do it too. So let's say you want to implement the boundary, and then your preferences really, let's say in a family, and and you're doing, let's say, a child care. You take care of the kids. Now it's maybe time to tell your spouse or partner, whatever, like, I think you can take them to school. And if they say, well, can you do this and this and this and that? And you're like, well, no, maybe you can do this and I can do that. And not being afraid really to ask other people for help. And maybe they cannot do that either. So then you can have to figure out together how you're going to work on that. The responsibility not always need to be only on you, especially if you have another parent that contributes to that. And the same as like in the work environment, the world is not going to end if you tell them no. They will find somebody else that can do that. If they cannot find somebody else, then they need to hire somebody else to do that. So all of this delegation and then the right work, dividing work among employees, it can be your responsibility or can be not, of course, depending what position you are in. But you're not alone in this. And trusting that other people actually can help you also will take time, but it's totally possible when you start doing that. Also, it's very important when you start setting boundaries to let go of the guilt, what you did and you didn't do in the past. That's another boundary with yourself that you need to start implementing right away. Because we always do the best that we can in any given moment. It's not like you woke up in the morning and you said, you know what? I think I'm going to do something bad today. So it will be, have bad consequences. That something will hurt me. Even if you think that is going to you're going to do something that hurts you, you're still really doing this out of because it's serving you. We're always doing something that's serving us, and but you're always doing the best. So forget about the past, learn from the lessons, and look forward and start changing little things. But the things especially that we cannot change, we already know. I don't need to preach on that. You cannot change it anymore, so it's time to let that go. But always remember, you're doing the best that you can. The good thing that now when you're implementing more boundaries with yourself and others, you're doing the best you can. And if you didn't do well, you couldn't set the boundaries, you can start tomorrow. You can start tomorrow and you can get better and better at this by taking little steps. And you have to really honor your no matter what circumstances, and you need to say what you truly believe. And again, that's lots and lots of work, but you can, as soon you start telling your opinion about things in small steps, that can help a lot. And I know one of the things that surprised me when I was researching about and I was healing, really doing my healing journey, that when I read about the adult children of alcoholics, that they lie even when they don't have to lie. It was very interesting to me because I thought, wow. So I remember doing this as a kid because and some things that don't even matter. Like for example, I will go to somebody's house and they will say, okay, we have two kinds of vanilla. We have excuse me, we have chocolate and we have vanilla. Which flavor of ice cream do you want? And I love chocolate, but I had no courage to tell them chocolate because obviously I was constantly invalidated. And I was thinking, I was trying to read their mind and think, I wonder what did they want. So then I will try to guess and I think, well, I think they probably like vanilla. And I will say vanilla. But that's just a preference. They could have given me no matter what ice cream. But this is when I was now really feeling into what do I truly want. So that truth always needs to be said. And we should not lie to ourselves as well. But again, you need to remember that you're doing this out of survival. So do not scold yourself that you were lying or even lying to yourself because it's really helping you to survive. But start feeling like you really need to can be more honest with yourself. What is that you really want? Like, you tired? Are you really tired? Are you thirsty? It's simple things like, and then honor yourself by going and getting a glass of water. And then really ask yourself opinion about different things that people are sharing opinions about. And are you being truthful when they ask you a question? Are you trying to please them and you tell them, oh yeah, this is what they want because you think that's what they want you to say? No, that's really start being more truthful about things that you say towards yourself and others. So when you start identifying, okay, who you truly are, let go of what doesn't belong to you. Especially if you are a people pleaser, you're afraid to say no, you will feel responsible for every single person that you know. And like I said before, we just want to give our love and understanding to everybody and help everyone, and it comes out to survive, but also from the good heart of thinking we want you to be happy, so I'm gonna give that to you. But there are some things that other people make mistakes and we still take them on as ours. So it's very important also separate what is yours and what is not yours. That will help you to differentiate, where is this is your and somebody else's, and where that boundary, that line is, where that defines you and somebody else. Okay, so now I think we are ready to set boundaries. So how is that we do? The right way to set boundaries is, when you start knowing where you are. Now we know where we are. Now we know who we are and what the other person is. We know the preferences. I know my preferences. And so it's very important to really truly know what is that you want. What is that you really, really want? Um, so let's say going late to sleep. Let's say you want to go to sleep at 9 p.m. and you're constantly going to sleep at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. And you think, I really want to tell that someone else in the household that I want to finish my day at 9 p.m. That's good. Now you know what it is. Because if you don't even know what it is that bothers you, you can start from the place of, remember how I said it's a very good idea to keep a diary and then pay attention how you feel. So when you start identifying your feelings, do not run from them. Feelings is just telling you, pay attention to something. So when you start feeling like, oh, there is something that doesn't make you feel good, write it down. What the situation is it? Did it trigger something? You're being somebody tell you to do something that you don't want to do. You makes you feel uncomfortable. Identify what does not serve you right now, and that's how you will identify where is the situation that you need to start setting those boundaries. What is this right now that you're struggling with, doesn't like you, that you don't like, where you don't feel comfortable, and what is the outcome that you want to achieve? You want this kind of outcome. And let's say your outcome is that you really would like to go to bed at 9 p.m. instead of 10 p.m. But because the things are happening around the house, you really cannot do it at 9 p.m. And it's always 10 p.m., 11 p.m., whatever. So now you identified what it is, what you want. How is that you communicate to the people? It is very important to not feel guilty of voicing your boundaries to the people. Because when you are being truthful to yourself and now you know what you want, that is very important for you to start telling them what you want, but in a nice way, not from anger, not from demanding. Because I remember many times, I used to justify my needs to be met through anger. Like, I will meet my needs, I will set my boundaries, I will say no to something, but I'll be extremely angry. Like, I'm trying to justify, like, you see, I am so angry because it's a very big deal and that's why I need this to change. Those things can be handled easier with a good communication. You can write yourself something that you want to say and pinpoint some things while when you're communicating with another person. You can write the letter to other person and say, I really like to go at 9 p.m. to sleep. How we can work the schedule around that actually we can achieve that. And not feel guilty about it. Don't feel like and do not expect that this will come back at you and say, well, no, this is not going to happen. And what I'm saying about that is, do not immediately expect things to be on the bad side, especially if you grew up in a dysfunctional family. by default we expect that the shoe to drop. We already expect that our needs will not be met, and we already prepare for the worst. That's a total out of survival because we grew up like that. We saw all of those things happening, and we already prepared. It's it's like a dog who's been beaten all his life, suddenly sees the hand that comes and tries to pet him. The dog is gonna start running away because it's used to constantly being beaten. So those situations can be very uncomfortable for you, but it's really start time to start to communicate with other people, and that's how you start setting the boundaries. You also can start with asking them what is the best way to communicate with them. Maybe somebody just likes to have maybe a to-do list, right? Maybe somebody says, "Yeah, totally, I can totally can do this. Like if you want me to do something, write me a to-do list that day, and then I'll know, or put it in a calendar, or maybe sit down and discuss how we can address the issue." But the communication can be scary, but it's very, very needed. And then, usually with boundaries, how do you enforce the boundaries? You enforce the boundaries when you really are strong and confident in yourself to pinpoint when they are being broken. So let's say someone has a constantly an argument with you. Let's say they just love to trigger you. Let's say you go to see your sibling or an alcoholic father or mother or whatever, and something, and then they start shouting at you, and you're like, you know what, I'm not a child anymore, I don't like this behavior anymore. And you communicate this, you say, I do not appreciate when you shouting at me. I don't want to see you when you're shouting at me, so we'll do this next time. When I come, please don't shout. If you start doing that, I'm going to leave. I'm going to get up and I'm going to leave. Now, the hardest part is to actually for you to do that. It is very hard because it's really out of survival, and we will feel like little kids again when we will be afraid to be beaten, or not fed, or again just kicked out of the house, and we're afraid we're going to die. So it's very, very important when finally the time comes for you to implement those boundaries. You really need to be very strong, and you need to say no. So next time when, let's say, you go to your household, or let's say you have your parents, maybe one of your father who's alcoholic is yelling at you, this is the time for you to stand up and say, you know what, I'm going home. Because remember that I told you I don't like you shouting at me, and this is will continue. If this continue next time, I will go again. So then when this happens few times, the other person realizes that, okay, this is how it's going to work. So you have to be persistent, and things constantly need to be on time, done, and every single time. Because if you do it one time but you don't do it the other time, becomes this wishy-washy thing that other person doesn't even know what are there even any boundaries there. And so when you keep up with that, then this is where the respect grows. Because, like, you know what? He or she does not put up with it anymore. Why know what their preferences are? And then know what the outcome will be if those preferences not being met. And that's how you get their respect. And this is also how you respect yourself more. And it can be very daunting and very challenging to start implementing your boundaries and making sure they're not being broken. But then when you just start doing that, and then you see that those boundaries work, you get the victory you get next time when your father yells at you and you're like, I don't like this behavior, and you stand up and you leave. When you leave, you close that door, you'll be super proud of yourself, because like, oh my gosh, I did it. I thought I would never do it, but I did it. And then you're proud of yourself and you have more trust in yourself. So then when you start doing, with maybe one person boundary, then you start doing the, setting the boundaries with other people, and then you realize that the people around you start behaving with you very differently. So it's very important for you, and then so there's some exercise that I can talk about right now, how to implement those boundaries is just make yourself a list of things that make you feel the most uncomfortable, in these days. Like, just think about your everyday life and just think what makes you feel uncomfortable. Maybe there is a coworker that constantly begging you for help, and you're afraid to say no. Maybe there is a boss that keeps on giving you somebody else's work and you think it's just not fair. and this is the time for you to say no. Maybe you are in a relationship with someone that they just doing something that you don't like, and there's so many sources outside they can help how to manage the situations. And maybe you can ask somebody else for help. You can say, you know what, I'm dealing with this person, and I don't really know. Seek therapy, seek mentorship. There's so many sources outside these days that you can find it. And the good thing about this is, if you having a problem with something, I can guarantee you somebody else already had the same problem and they already solved it. And of course, having boundaries, and as any other habit, it has to be continuously done. And you have to be inspired really to make that change, because the change happens or you so inspired or you so in pain. As long as it is change, no matter which way it is, that then is really serving you. So I also recommend you to do coaching, because that also helps you to implement those new habits and then straighten you and straighten the belief in yourself that you can actually go and do things and achieve and be happy and healthy. And I do also one-on-one consultations, one-on-one coaching. So you're welcome to check out my website, beamazingyou.com, and actually get that session, or even have the whole package and then embark on your journey. Well, and I'll be happy to help you. So here are the few things, and we're running out of time. But here are the small things how you can start. If you have difficulty of setting any boundaries, you're already know, but you're like even just afraid to say a word no. Go to the mirror, look at yourself, and just say no out loud. No, 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 no. Walk around the house and just say no. Just say no. Just say no. Then I love this exercise. Then you go to the mall or any other area that there are salespeople, and then you say no. You say no. They like, would you like to have a sample? You say no. I used to be so guilty. Let's say I go to some any grocery store and they're giving out samples, and like they're selling wine or something, or they're selling makeup or whatever. And I will walk by and they will be like, oh, can you try? Do you want to try this? And I would feel guilty not taking that. But now, guess what? You just go and say no. You can go with your friend if you're afraid to do it yourself. Go with your friend to the mall and walk in circles by all those salespeople, and they tell you, "Would you like this?" And you say no, and then keep the score to see how many of those no's you were able to say it, and then you'll see that when you say no, the other person actually didn't die. They don't even care. They will tell this the same to the next person, and the next level, when you start saying no with your coworkers, with your friends, with your family members, start writing this little diary about how well you implemented the boundary, and what did you do that worked, and what did you that didn't work, those boundaries, and then learn from your experiences. And then I'll recommend you to give yourself a gift. You have to reward your efforts and count every victory. And I love list building. And in the previous sessions in this Life Without Limits, the whole hour little course that I'm doing now, I recommended to write you the list of your winnings. So when you set a boundary and you protected that and you knew what to do, right that day, I set the boundary with my father and I kept at it, and now that changed. Because that's an achievement. That's your victory. And give yourself a gift and say, you know what, now I'm gonna go and eat a donut, because even if it's bad, because it's good for me and I deserve it, because that's enjoyable and I want to eat that. You allow yourself to do what you want to do and you honor what you want. That's also a victory. So you can have two victories at the same time. How about that? So let's say you're dealing with a relationship with friends and or something, and you don't want to be rude, because I also want to deal with my clients. They sometimes say, well, I'm really afraid to be rude. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to say no immediately. Especially that has to do, let's say, with friends or coworkers or something, that they want your time or some involvement. I recommend you to start with not immediately telling them, well, no, I'm not going to do this. But you can say, let me think about it, and then I let you know. And most of the time, our letting know, it's in the message. And it's easier to say no in a message to that person than in person in the face, right? That's where the majority of bullying on social media now happening, because people do not see the other person they're insulting. And so you can say, let me think about it. Let me check my calendar and I'll get back to you. And then later on, message them and say, I'm sorry, I checked your calendar. I really would love to, but I have something else happening at the same time. Let me know next time. So you see, they not will feel like you're not being rude. You're not, it's just, and people understand there's some other things happening. And even if nothing happening, you can put yourself on schedule and your self-care for reading a book for 3 hours. And if you really feel like I'm gonna be lying to them, then manually put three books, 3 books, 3 hours for your reading in your own time. Or you go walk in the park and you do that. And then you tell them that you have something else. Also, if let's say, you still want to help them. Let's say your coworker comes and says, "Hey, I have this presentation to do. Can you make that presentation for me?" You're like, "Oh, I don't want to do the whole presentation. I don't have time." But you still want to help them. You can say, "How about that? I'll help you with making, let's say, pictures or descriptions or whatever, and then you can finish yourself the rest." You say you kind of help them some, but not everything, and then you saved your time and your energy. So start doing that, and then you get more confidence, and then you see that, oh, I'm doing pretty good, and then can you set more boundaries and stronger boundaries, or maybe boundaries on things that you were even afraid to think, that you can set boundaries like that, or those more drastic boundaries like, I don't want you to be using this, because if you will continue using this, I'm going to leave you, and all. So start small, and we're running out of time, so I want to say, start small, honor your feelings. It's gonna be scary, but the more you start using it, the more you feel more confident. And then other people will respect you more. You will respect yourself more. And that is stress management, because you will be managing that stress. Imagine maybe you had that friend that you really didn't want to go to their party, and then you said, you know what, I'm not coming to your party. Maybe next time. And they said, yeah, okay. And then that evening you have for yourself, and you can take care of your own things. You can sit with your dog or go dancing or take care of your kids, whatever. And then you feel good about yourself and you feel good about your friend, because now you don't have resentment and you don't have that anger. So keep a diary, see what things you need to address, make small steps, implement them as much as you can, be consistent, persistent, and your confidence will grow. And because I promised you that today I'm giving a free gift, and because we're approaching holiday season, and I think it's can be very turbulent times. It's already happening so many things, usually in the family who did not grow up in the dysfunctional family. Can be very stressful get together. But when you are a child that grew up in a dysfunctional family, you are, what they say is PTSD. What they say, better not to come back to the situation where you've been triggered. But how are you not going to see your parents? Let's say your parent, alcoholic, for example, mine is. How am I going to see them and have enjoyable holidays when I feel resentment, when I feel triggers? And so my gift for you is my best-selling book that just been released back in May, Stress Management for Adult Children of Alcoholics. And I know if one of you says, well, I don't have a father alcoholic, but they so and so. The 25 chapters that I'm talking about the specific things in that book, and give exercises to do and share my personal stories and my memoirs also. It's can be really given to a lot of people who grew up in the family or in the environment that they were not really given what they needed, and their needs were not met, and they were invalidated. So I already posted a link in the comments. And so I think it's a great opportunity for those who didn't get the book yet, to get an ebook. It's, you just sign up, and in that book will be delivered to your email. And if you know anyone who could also find that book useful, I'm giving it for free just because holidays. And I think we all need the most support as much as we can. You're welcome to send that link to your friends, your family, whoever you think can benefit it. And I hope it will help you. So, Now I will open the floor for the questions, and Shiri has any question or something to say, I'll be very happy to hear. Oh, you're welcome, Shiri. Yes, I'm very happy to give that away. I hope you'll find it useful.
I'll definitely find that useful. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I have some situations that'll work for, so that's perfect. Guess my only question is I've tried to do boundaries before. I've read the book Boundaries, I've done all that stuff. And then life kind of gets in the way. So how do you make it a habit? How do you actually get that to be a habit where you do this? Besides just saying no to yourself in the mirror and things like that, how do you make it daily? Like where can you put it in your day, or how do you find a place to put it in your day because it's so important? You know what I mean?
Yes, it is only through consistency and being very firm with yourself. It's like you go to work. Like, let's say I go to work. You need to go to work or you're not going to get paid. It's
Right.
not a question, can I go to work or not? It's like you have to do it. So you really have to address the boundaries the same too. You have to address like, this is me dying or not dying, and I really have to do it. And the more we postpone that, the worse it gets, because we think, well, I didn't yesterday, and so I have to do it today, but that's okay if I'm not going to do it today too. So we can get trapped in that too. Although at the same time, I say we should not push ourselves so much that causing us pain. So I think it's like any other habit. When you just start implementing it, and if the more often you'll do it, the easier it will become, because you
Okay.
will gain more confidence in yourself. And it can be very, very scary. And I don't know what situation you're dealing with, and I don't want you to share it because it's still on the recording, and I don't want anyone to listen about your personal life. But
Right.
no matter how hard it is, start, just do it, and then see what happens. And especially has to do with other people. They can get very angry. So you can prepare yourself then to prepare yourself, like, okay, if I'm gonna say this boundary, let's say I'll just use the same example. Let's say I'm going to see my parents and my dad is yelling at me. I'm going to prepare myself. And that's a very good stress management technique for anything in your life that you're afraid to do. You say, okay, what's the worst case scenario that's going to happen? Let's say I'm going to tell my dad, stop yelling at me, I'm going to leave. And okay, I'm going to imagine, all right, he's going to start yelling even more. What do I do then? Then I definitely need to leave. Or like, okay, well, what is going to be just upset, and then I'm going to, and he's gonna be like, start literally, he's gonna be upset of trying crying or something. He say, well, I'm not yelling at you, or what you're talking about, whatever. Then what I'm gonna say, then I'm gonna say exactly the same thing, but just on the nicer, without fleeing. So what I'm trying to say is, prepare yourself for the worst case scenario. So then you will know how to approach that situation when you start implementing those boundaries. Because I think what always was very difficult for me is that I would be afraid of what's going to happen when I actually stand my ground. What's going to happen, or what's going to happen when I be at work and I say, I am too overwhelmed, I cannot take any more projects. What's going to happen? Okay, well, then my boss will say, okay, well, we're firing you, right? And then I'm going to be like, okay, so imagine that I already got fired. All right, okay, then I have a plan. All right, okay, I can eat from savings. I can find another job. Okay, that's money is over. Then what I'm gonna do? Okay, then I'm gonna go. Oh, maybe I'll lose my house. Then okay, fine. Then I'm gonna ask my friend. Maybe I can sleep on the couch. Okay, then maybe I'm gonna go to my parents. So like, then you go down the rabbit hole to the point when you exhaust all the worst case scenarios. So then you kind of mentally already prepare yourself to be in the worst case scenario. So then when it's your time for you to implement boundaries, you're not going to be so afraid anymore, because you prepared yourself mentally what's the worst thing that can happen. And this always we're being held by fear of, will be hurt. So when you already address the fear, it'll become easier. And it's practice, like with any other habit, that the more you implement the boundaries, the more you see that, oh, nobody died. Nobody, I mean, they were upset, but they didn't die. And especially if you deal with people with the abuse, like for example, I can go to my dad doesn't do yelling anymore. But let's just say that the situation when somebody's yelling and you stood up that time and you left, and they were even more upset, and then you are even afraid to go there. So it can be very difficult. But let's say it's going to be a moment again where you have to go there, and then you go there, and then they start yelling again. Then you really need to do that all over again, no matter how painful it was the first time. It's like you like training someone, like shooting, ball in the basket. You're not going to get it every time, but you need to continue doing it. So you're really showing that you're serious about that, no matter how painful it is. But just think about it. You can ask also yourself, okay, I'm not going to address this right now. I tried, but it didn't work. Do you want to be in the same place where you are right now in a year from now? Do you still want them to treat you the same? Do you still want to work somewhere, or whatever situation is? And then probably you say no, because that doesn't feel good. That's where you want to implement boundaries, because it's painful for you, emotional or physically painful. So that should give you that push for you to really make that difference by standing up for yourself, because you're worthy of doing that. And when you feel better about yourself, you will feel more inspired, and you will actually help other people that are around you. You'll take care of yourself, or your family, a friend, or whoever you want to give that energy and your time. And it could be very, very scary, but as soon as you start doing that and you prepare for the worst, it will become a habit, and very scary, but try to do your best. And then also, when you make that victory, give yourself a gift, like, okay, yes, I did it, that's a victory, celebrate it. We have to celebrate ourselves. So I don't know if that answered the question.
It definitely does. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking. Do you have more questions? I see you the only one that I can ask a live question.
I'm thinking. I do
By
like
the
what
way,
you said.
go
Maybe you can
ahead.
expand a little bit. I do like what you said when you said you need to know what you can do and what they can do. Because I think what I do a lot of times is think, well, I better get this done so it's done. And I don't realize that I'm taking it away from them. So that's a different view for me. Like I'm not giving them a chance to be themselves because I think
Mm-hmm.
I need to do it and they don't get the chance. That really helped me. So can you expound a little bit on that?
Now, also, what let's say when we do when we ourselves do a lot of things, and it's not like I like how you already recognize that, oh, we're taking this away from them. That's mean they if they will be getting a chance to do it themselves, then they will even trust themselves more. They will be also more confident. But many times, I think when we do some things for other people, we're doing that out of love or out of care, and we think, I'll just do that for you. That does not really build their own confidence and what they can do, and that also does not even show the example of, let's say, today we're talking about boundaries. If you do not set the boundaries with yourself and them, you teaching them how not to set boundaries. So it looks like, oh, it will be just faster and easier and less of conflict. But in the long run, it's not really serving the other person if they don't see that as an example, or you don't let them to trust themselves.
I like that. That really spoke to me.
And it
I
all
needed
starts
that
with
too.
little things. Yes, you just start little things, and maybe start something with small things that um, do not make such a huge difference. If, let's say, if they take it the wrong way, or they do not do it, like
Mhm.
then build that confidence inside of you, and help them to build that confidence inside themselves too, that, oh, they can handle that. I had a client who was, she came and she's like, I'm burnt out, I have business and I have a family of 3 kids, and nobody's doing anything around the house, and they cannot even do breakfast. And I'm like, well, you have to, like, you have to do something. And I said, well, did you even tell them that you want them to make their own breakfast? I mean, they were like teenage kids, and like, I'm sure they can put that milk in the bowl and make themselves cereal. But she thought it was faster. But as soon as she started telling them that she really would like them to take care of that themselves, the kids saw that, oh, well, they're like, wow, you actually have confidence in us, you think we're capable of that. and that helped their relationship because they saw the validation. The kids saw that, oh, mom giving me this chance to prove myself, and that connection was very important because they needed to have this validation from her instead of seeing that, oh, my mom doesn't think I'm capable of that. So it's funny to see how if we give more power to other people and we trust in them that they can perform, then you will have ignited them to be better themselves, and then you see that, wow, my needs also can be met and I don't have to do everything for everyone, and there's more respect and there's more love, and the relationships just get stronger. And I think it's not only families but also in the place, like in the workplace or with friends, and it really can expand.
I'm definitely going to implement this. It's things I didn't think of myself, so I'm so glad I was on here.
Well, I'm very happy that you came and live, especially now everybody's getting for holidays, and usually evening hours, especially if you have family, you have to take care of everyone else. It's could be very daunting task to say, don't talk to me now, So I really appreciate you participating. Do you have any more questions?
Don't think so.
Well, that's wonderful. So I'm also, for those who are listening in, or also for you, um, if you ever have a question, you're welcome to come on the Facebook group that I created privately just for this class. So only the people who register for this class, and they can come and become members and ask questions there. And I'm always answering. I'm almost like always checking my phone to make sure that I have no messages. And or you also can message directly to me, and I posted the link in the comments. And if those who don't see the link, you just can go and look. Hop, there you go. I see you. You're asking to join. Yes, and it's called, as for those who are listening, it's called Stress Management for Adult Children of Addicts. And I'm just kind of putting in one group of addicts. Could be a workaholic, could be a sex addict, or shopaholic, or whatever addict. So, and yeah, so you're welcome to ask any questions there if you ever have a question. And I hope you go and grab the ebook. I really would like to hear what you have to say about that, and if you find it useful, I would truly appreciate if you go on Amazon and leave a review, and join. You already or join the book, and for the Facebook group, and I'm on Instagram, on Facebook under Lolita Guarin under my name, and I'm constantly giving. My goal is every day to leave some sort of advice, or just a thought about how we can manage stress, especially for those who grew up in a dysfunctional family. Because I don't think there's a person in this world that can say truly, I don't have any childhood traumas. I think we all do because we're humans. And the first trauma that we already endure is when we're being born. Because coming from the warm environment in the water and in the dark, you actually came out. So that's already very huge trauma. So how we handle those big and small traumas is very impacting us, but also impacting the people around us. So when we say, "Oh, I'm fine, I'll be fine," yes, we definitely can endure. And those who grew up in a dysfunctional family, we are survivors. But also, if we're doing better, if we invest in ourselves and we heal, we also show the people around us how to heal and how to take care of themselves. And I think that's the point of Wellness Universe. When we help ourselves, we help other people, and that's how the rest of the world really becomes a better place. So you're welcome to leave a review on the class, and make a donation. And I thank you so much again, Sherry, for participating live. And I'm very happy that you asked questions and you joined the Facebook group. So I hope to see you there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a happy holidays. So, by the way, next month we'll be talking about some another subject. So I hope to see you there. If not, I hope you will catch up on our recording.
Have a wonderful month.